The U.S. Intelligence Committee knows about this hack and where it's going. The ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff of California, is joining us. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks, Wolf.
So this is a lot bigger than this DNC, the DCCC, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. Maybe individual Democrats out there, they were hacked as well?
Well, I can't go into the specifics, but you can imagine if the DNC was hacked, that it could expose all kinds of emails, financial information, whatever was in the possession of the DNC, or whatever information you could migrate to from DNC computers. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a fairly broad notice by the DNC of people who may be affected.
Yesterday, Nancy Pelosi, the minority leader in the House, said Russia did this cyber attack. She said it flatly, publicly. Can you confirm that?
I can only say on the basis of very public information, it certainly seems that a lot of those indicators point straight at the Kremlin. Russia has been known to engage in this kind of activity in the past. They have the means of doing it. They have the motive to do it. Ultimately, it'll be up to the President administration to make attribution. Senator Feinstein and I have urged the administration to do that attribution publicly when they have the requisite confidence in the intel, because I think it's one of the important ways of deterring this kind of meddling in our affairs again.
As you wrote this letter, UN Senator Dianne Feinstein, California, I'll put it up on the screen. If true, and if Russia made the material available to WikiLeaks for release, then the episode would represent an unprecedented attempt to meddle in American domestic politics, one that would demand a response. So what would be, if you confirm 100% it was Russia, they gave the information to WikiLeaks, what would be the appropriate U.S. response?
Well, I think it all starts with attribution. You have to name and shame the responsible actors. After that, there are a whole range of actions the administration could consider, everything from potentially indicting responsible parties, using the Magnitsky laws to bring about sanctions on individuals, more broad economic sanctions. So I think it all will start, though, with a very public attribution of who is behind it, and I think that's the most powerful and certainly the necessary first step to any other consequence.
And you think a lot more of these very sensitive emails potentially could be released between now and the election in November?
It's certainly possible, and we have seen, if there's a state actor involved here, if the Russians are involved, we have seen them deliberately try to sow chaos in other countries, particularly those they view as adversaries. So this would be very consistent with the Russian playbook. It is unique, though, in such a potentially high-profile attack on the United States and the interference with our presidential campaign. That would be unique, and I think an unprecedented effort to interfere in our political process.
Because we heard Robbie Mook of the Clinton campaign say the Russians' motivation is to hurt the Clinton campaign and help Donald Trump.
Well, I think they certainly have a very strong interest in seeing Donald Trump be the next president, given all the admiring statements he's made of Putin, the fact that he's willing potentially to walk away from sanctions on Russia over its invasion of Ukraine, or recognize Russia's illegal annexation of Crimea. So you could see all the reasons why. But there's another reason, too, that has nothing to do with Trump, and that is he just may want to damage Secretary Clinton because she's a formidable adversary. The Russians always believe that we're interfering in their elections, so this would be potentially payback for the Russians. So there could be a lot of motivations here.
There's a Reuters report out there that the U.S. intelligence community knew about this hack of the DNC emails a year ago, but deliberately didn't tell anyone at the DNC because that could have compromised what they call sources and methods, could have undermined U.S. intelligence gathering capabilities. What can you tell us about that?
Well, unfortunately, I can't really speak to that. I'm not allowed to comment on what we may have been briefed on. But I can say this, that when the intelligence community is made aware of foreign hacking of U.S. institutions, whether they're government agencies, private parties, nonprofits, they do make an effort to notify, to put these organizations potentially on notice to defend themselves. Sometimes they're able to share cyber threat information. In fact, we passed legislation to facilitate that kind of sharing. But they do have to protect sources and methods, although there's usually that can be done.
One unrelated issue, Donald Trump is causing some stir in an interview with the Miami Herald. He's now suggesting maybe U.S. citizens who are charged with terrorism should not go to a court here in the United States, but should be sent to Guantanamo Bay to a military tribunal, a military commission. Listen to this exchange that he had.
Would you try to get the military commissions, the trial court there, to try U.S. citizens?
Well, I know that they want to try them in our regular court systems, and I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all. I would say they could be tried there. That would be fine.
What do you think? That would be fine? To try American citizens at Guantanamo Bay before a military commission?
Not at all fine. In fact, I think very much at odds with our Constitution that guarantees U.S. citizens due process. So I don't think that flies constitutionally. It reminds me a bit of when Donald Trump said that, well, the Constitution also protects the free exercise of religion, but I don't really believe in that. Or something along those lines. So he seems very free to express views that are at odds with our Constitution. And, you know, equally disturbing to me, Wolf, was the recent comments laying responsibility for founding ISIS at the hands of the President and Secretary Clinton. This feeds right into a narrative that a lot of people in the region have, that ISIS was of our creation because we wanted to turn Muslim against Muslim. It's also part of the Kremlin storyline. And here's another example of Donald Trump doing damage to our national security interests to try to help his campaign.
He now says he was being sarcastic. He tweeted that this morning.
What he always says at the end of the day.
Adam Schiff, thanks very much.